It feels like an increasingly large number of people have political minds. In essence, they have woken up, although some of them have woken up into an alternative sleep, a more active sleep. They are aware of the significance of politics, but ignorant of the more specific details. The political mind is an interesting thing. Many people do not have a political mind. They ignore power, they allow power to act on them without ever making an effort to take control. They are influenced by the government, but make no effort at influencing it. They are moulded by political reality, but make little effort at asserting their control over it. A lot of people still fit into this category, but it seems that number is gradually shrinking. In the modern world, it is almost impossible to dismiss politics as insignificant, inconsequential, or boring. COVID showed us just how consequential political decision-making can be, as has the economic decline, conflict, and extremism that has increasingly characterized this era. People are sick of being at the mercy of politics. People are sick of having their lives dictated by politics. People want to assert control. More and more people want to mould political and social reality to their will. A minority loses interest as they are overwhelmed and dejected, but they are outnumbered 10 to 1 by those whose attention has finally been caught. The rise of the political-minded is in some ways a good thing. More people paying attention to politics is generally a good thing. There is nothing more disturbing than people cluelessly having their lives dictated and dominated by political structures. The masses were asleep, but many have woken up from one sleep into another. Now they attempt to influence politics, but in all the worst ways. They wield their power to support aspiring autocrats who will confiscate that power. Populism can easily motivate more people to take an intense interest in democracy. Ironically, it can also motivate them to destroy it. It is an absurdity, but out of ignorance, cluelessness, and naivety, they make it possible. People are desperate for purpose and meaning. For many, an amoral Nietzschean will to power has become a source of meaning and purpose. They don't seem to especially care about morality, they just want power and influence. You basically have to be an amoral, self-serving power seeker to closely associate with someone like Donald Trump. Either that, or you have to be very dumb. But these movements will get support from at least some mildly intelligent people, otherwise they would never get anywhere. It is easy to assume that everyone views politics as a moral pursuit. I certainly do, and you most likely do too. But not everyone is like us. Some people view politics as a means to improve their own material position, or satisfy their own personal desire for glory. Others view it as just a job. They attempt to be as successful as possible, they attempt to get as much money and power as possible. They have no interest in righteousness or morality. They just view politics as a job. That is a very disturbing thought, but I think that is how many, if not most politicians view it. Conviction politicians are increasingly hard to come by. Self-serving career politicians are everywhere. For them, politics is just a good job. They don't feel righteous, they don't care about feeling righteous. That is why they lie so shamelessly. They are entirely self-serving. We are not like this, most people are not like this. It is hard to even imagine that such people exist. But such people do exist, and they often rise to the top. It is easier to rise to the top if you are a cutthroat, amoral, self-serving piece of trash. This is true in both the political world and the economic world. The worst people often rise to the top, because the weaker your sense of morality, the easier it is to do so. That is the revolting reality. This explains why most powerful people are so awful, while most ordinary people are perfectly pleasant. I could stand on the main street for 1 hour and pick an infinitely better cabinet than the one possessed by Trump. But Trump does not choose his cabinet on the street. He chooses his cabinet from the upper echelons of a brutal political order. An order where the most immoral people rise the most easily. Ordinary people are infinitely more virtuous. Some people are dismissive of socialist efforts at glorifying the working class. And the working class is anything but perfect. But the working class is far more virtuous than the ruling class. Because like I say, it is easier to climb up the ranks if you are in a moral, self-serving piece of trash. Obviously, morality is a major constraint. It often gets in the way of behaviour that is profitable or politically advantageous. But some people do not let it get in the way, and so they rise to the top. This is one of the best arguments for a decentralised democratic socialism that elevates ordinary people, not cynical, self-serving elites. Some people feel dejected. We must never forget that our forebears have faced far greater challenges and prevailed. We must carry the torch into the future on their behalf. We must struggle for a better society. That is the only option. We cannot accept defeat. Our forebears struggled against far worse evils than those we face today. We owe it to them and to future generations to continue that noble tradition.